Hello, welcome to Big Orbit Games unboxing video for the new Wave 8 X-Wing Punishing One for the Scum and Villainy faction. My name is Simon, and what I'm going to do is just open this up and show you what's inside. So if I can just rip through the cellophane here. And so what I'll do is just, apart from knock the camera, what I'll do is just open this up and show you what's inside. So Scum and Villainy get two ships in this wave. So Mist Hunter video, which we've, the Mist Hunter, which we've also done unboxing for, so check that out. And then you get this, the Punishing One, which is Dengar's ship. So I'll save the video, I'll save the miniature till last, because save the best till last, as they say. I'll show you through the cards and stuff first. So you get loads of stuff in this pack. So not only do you get your Jumpmaster 5000, which is the name of the ship type, and all the tokens to go with it, you get loads of ship cards and upgrade cards as well. So it's 14 different upgrades in there. And then this little booklet just explains sort of how some of the rules work for some of the parts if you haven't used them before. Pardon me. And it also gives you a new mission called Payback. And also on the back you have the maneuvers. So you can see the Jumpmaster 5000 has an interesting ability to turn left really well. Mostly because the engine is on the right. So, and it's got this interesting little maneuver here, which is called a Segnol's loop. So after you've completed it, you rotate your ship 180 degrees, which is really interesting. So you can see in the diagram there how it moves. So you perform the maneuver and then you sort of turn sideways. So really interesting maneuver. I have a lot of fun flying this around the field and probably messing up that maneuver completely, but hey. So yeah, so that's one of the new maneuvers. It's just the fact that it moves left really well, but not right as much. I like having an asymmetrical movement. It makes for an interesting ship. I don't know about actually playing using asymmetrical maneuvers, but still. So we have 3 sheets of tokens in here. So you get your big ship tokens on there, and then obviously all the necessary things like shield tokens, and you've got your new objective tokens and stress and stuff like that, and your identifiers. We also get the maneuver dial itself on there, so shows you all your maneuvers. So as always, plenty of tokens as with any FFG game. And then moving on to the actual ship cards themselves. So here we have Dengar in his Jumpmaster 5000. So he's pilot skill 9, 2 attack, 2 defense, 5 hull and 4 shield. So it's not bad for a big ship. And then once per round after defending, if the attacker is inside your firing arc, you may perform an attack against that ship. Now this is quite a big ability. This is a sort of like an out of activation attack. I'm really intrigued to use this. And obviously, if you've got a smart opponent, they're not going to fire at you whilst you're inside your firing arc, unless obviously they need to. And again, if they take note, you have only got 2 dice. Now there is a title in here which increases that to 3, and we'll get to that shortly. But yeah, I think it's a really intriguing ability because it forces your opponent to make a choice. Do they want to risk being fired back at, which potentially could be 2 shots out of it that turn at one opponent, which is a lot for one ship to take from one target. So I think it's a really cool ability. Out of activation stuff is always interesting. He has the focus, target lock and barrel roll actions. Loads of upgrades on there. So elite pilot talent, 2 torpedoes, crew, astromech, and illicit upgrades. Is that just the Scum astromech? I always get confused with the upgrade icons. And then he's 33 points himself. So he's quite an expensive ship to start with. And then once you start adding upgrades on, he's going to become even more expensive. But I felt like that ability might just be worth it. Then we have Tel Travera. Pilot skill 7, still the same stats on there. And the first time you would be destroyed, instead cancel any remaining damage, discard all damage cards, and deal 4 face down damage cards to this ship. So you effectively reset, but back to 1 hull. So that's an interesting survivability tactic. It just, obviously your opponent will line this up and hopefully attack it in such a way that they know that it's going to go, revert back to one hull and needs another shot taking at it. But I like defensive abilities, so that's pretty cool in my book. Upgrades are the same, actions are the same, and it's 3 points less at 30 points for a slightly more defensive ability there. Then we have Mana Rune, Pilot Skill 4, so quite a drop in the Pilot Skill there. Still the same stats, still the same actions, still the same upgrades. And then the abilities at the start of the combat phase, you may assign all focus, evade and target lock tokens assigned to you to another friendly ship. So much more in a supporting role there. And with the option of actions available and stuff, that intriguing one, but very 27 points, and it makes itself a bit of a target for just being a support ship, but there could be an interesting combination there with another Scum of Villainy ship. And then we have a Contracted Scout. So dropping down to Pilot Skill 3, no ability, same upgrades though, which is, you don't always get that on the sort of like the basic version of a ship, if you will, and the same actions, but only coming in at 25 points, so relatively cheap for quite a large ship. So moving on to the upgrade cards, and there's plenty in here. So first of all we have Rage, Elite Pilot Talent, Action, assign a focus token to your ship and receive 2 stress tokens. Until the end of the round, when attacking, you may re-roll up to 3 attack dice. Now, Rage I really like. Now, receiving 2 stress tokens is quite a downside in terms of movement next turn. But remember the dial of the Jump Master, there's quite a lot of greens on that left move, so getting rid of those stress tokens wouldn't be too difficult. So, at just 1 point for the ability to re-roll, and you get a focus token. I like Rage. I like that a lot. We have a Tiny Mind Link. So this is a Scum only pilot talent, costs just 1 point, and each time you are assigned a focus or stress token with each of the friendly ship with a Tiny Mind Link must also be assigned the same type of token if it does not already have one. So obviously the idea being that you spread this out amongst your little fleet of ships. One of them performs one action and then everyone gets a token for it. I don't think it's too bad. I think it's going to be... I want to see some lists with this in before I really make my mind up as to whether or not I like the Mind Link. I mean, it is only 1 point. Shame it's only Scum only, but then I think you could break this quite easily if it wasn't. So, yeah, feel free to show me some lists where this is used and abused. I'll be intrigued. And you get 2 in there. So you'll probably need a few more, I'd imagine. We have the Plasma Torpedoes, which we saw on the K-Wing. So 4 attack dice, ranges 2 to 3, costs 3 points. And then if this attack hits, after dealing damage, remove 1 shield token from the defender. So just chips a bit of that extra bit of shield, chipped away, hopefully leaving your opponent stripped of them. We have Boba Fett, probably one of the most talked about upgrade cards in Wave 8, not always for the right reasons. So he's a crew, he's 1 point, he's Scum only. After performing an attack, if the defender was dealt a face-up damage card, you may discard this card to choose and discard one of the defender's upgrade cards. That's really interesting. That's going to create some nasty situations. Obviously, as useful as this ability is, you do have to dealt a face-up damage card, which isn't impossible by any measure, but it is a little bit tricky, and it does mean you're only removing that upgrade potentially later in the game when you're already stripped away their shields and you're already, digging into their hull. But there's a great little comic that I saw which shows Boba Fett throwing Palpatine out of the doors of a shuttle. So just that image alone, I think, makes Boba Fett worth it. And we have 1 of those. Then we have Dengar himself. So 3 points for a crew. And when attacking, you may reroll 1 attack die. If the defender is a unique pilot, you may instead roll up to 2 attack dice. This could be really useful against sort of aces lists, not so useful against swarms, sadly. But the ability to re-roll is always beneficial, always. There's some really good upgrade cards throughout X-Wing which allow you to re-roll. Anything which helps mitigate that chance of rolling blanks is worth it, so I like Dengar. We have Gonk. I love these droids. He's Scum only, 2 points, it's a crew, and he has 2 actions. Action, place a shield token on him, and then there's another action, you can remove a shield token from this card to recover 1 shield. So that's useful for long-term survivability. You can see immediately how that's supposed to be combining with Tal Trevara. Traitovera. Sorry, I'm really bad at pronouncing names. But you can see how it's supposed to be like a tanky ship that's, you know, designed to survive those rounds of combat and then just recover itself. So never giving your opponent those points for its destruction. We have R5P8 is our mech. 3 points, and once per round after defending you may roll 1 attack die. On a hit, the attacker suffers 1 damage. On a crit, you and the attacker suffer 1 damage. So again, immediately I think I can see where this combos with her, or him, depending. And the potential to be able to deal damage to your opponent outside of your activation, outside of attacking. That's a really intriguing one though. It's 3 points, so it's quite a pricey upgrade. But I think I can see that actually being used, so I like that one. With the overclocked R4, so at 1 point, it's during the combat phase when you spend a focus token, you may receive a stress token to assign 1 focus token to your ship. So effectively getting your focus back. However, on the downside, stress, upside if you're using up the jump master, lots of green maneuvers. So yeah, just very good. And we have 2 of those in there. We have a Feedback Race. This is a reprint. 2 point illicit upgrade. During the combat phase, instead of performing any attacks, you may receive 1 iron token and suffer 1 damage. To choose 1 enemy ship at range 1, and that ship suffers 1 damage. That's a lot of ones. I'm not a massive fan of this, just because you damaging yourself and taking iron token limits what you're doing next turn. Your opponent becomes aware of where you're maneuvering, and all you're doing is dealing 1 damage, which, whilst useful and could be what you need to take the opponent down, I'm not a massive fan of it. Guidance chips. This is probably one of the best upgrades we've seen in Wave 8, certainly. It's a modification for 0 points, and once per round when attacking with a torpedo or missile secondary weapon, you can change 1 die to a hit result or a crit result if your primary weapon value is 3 or higher. This is such a good card if you are running missiles and torpedoes, and for 0 points it's a modification, so it's not using up slots. I think it's a fantastic card, absolutely amazing guidance chips. So, and you get 2 in there, which is excellent. And then we have the Punishing 1 title. So remember earlier I said about Dengar himself's ship. Increase your primary weapon value by 1. Now this is a whopping 12 points, which immediately makes him 45 points. But it does mean if your opponent attacks you whilst they're in your front arc, that means they are getting a 3-shot attack back, and that is damaging. So obviously they're meant to combo together, however it's a very expensive way to play it. So whilst they should naturally be paired together, I just think the 12 points is such a steep amount. I would have thought like 8 to 10 would have been better, but hey, I'm not the designer, as I'm sure they have their reasons for it. So yeah, so there we go. That is all the upgrade cards in there as well. So let's show you the actual ship itself. I really love the asymmetrical design of this. I like asymmetrical stuff because spaceships shouldn't just have to conform to basically just being really elongated bullets. They should be, you know, interesting things like this crescent shape, and the major engine's only on one side, and you've got like this turret at the back, which unfortunately doesn't move, but I'm sure you could easily modify it too. So yeah, so let's show you that. So I think it's a really cool looking ship, Punishing 1. I think it's, I love the uniqueness of it. I think it's absolutely amazing. Sculpt wise, it's up to FFG's standards as always. It's well sculpted, plenty of detail on there. There's actually a surprisingly huge amount on the bottom as well. A lot of details gone into that, almost more than the top in some places. And the paint job's fairly decent. As always, it's a shame they haven't painted the engines in, but then they rarely ever do, so but it just means something you can paint in yourself, doesn't it? And just to give you an idea of the size of the ship, we have the YV666, which was Bosk's Hound's Tooth. So as you can see, it's obviously this is a really long, thick, pencil-thin ship, but yeah, it's quite big. I mean, it's probably roughly about the same size as like a falcon in terms of width. Obviously nowhere in length, it's only taking up sort of like the semicircular, the circle centre of the falcon itself, probably not even as wide as actually. So yeah, but yeah, it's just to try and give you an idea of the size of it. So yeah, I really like this. I really do. In that the turret juts out a bit awkwardly, but then it's a turret, what do you expect? So yeah, I should probably put this down now, but I really do like it. I really like that ship. I think it's really cool looking. So there we go. That's all the different components from the Punishing One expansion pack. So lots of really cool upgrades in there. Lots of interesting stuff for Scum players to look at and utilise. Like I said, if you've got an idea about lists that use this, I'd love to see them. I like Rage, I like Guidance Chip. There's so much in here that I actually really like, so definitely get a hold of one of these, even if you don't play Scum and Villainy. Actually, no, if you don't play Scum, then there's quite a lot that you're missing out on here, sadly. But the Guidance Chips are really useful. So some of these, they're Scum only, aren't they? So yeah, this is definitely one for just for the Scum players, really, unless you're desperate for those Guidance Chips. But good thing that we're Big Orbit Cards, because everything you've seen here today can be bought and sold on our website as individual components. So individually as cards, tokens, everything individually can be bought and sold on our website, bigorbitcards.co.uk. So that's everything in the Punishing One. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll also be unboxing the rest of Wave 8, so check out those videos. So that's bye from me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.